Morning, guys. Happy Wednesday to you. I want to get back onto this train body today, and I want to finish this up before we go any further. So this is a tutorial for Onshape. If you're using Fusion or Inventor, please close this video out and go to the video supplied for your software application. All right, I'm on Onshape here. And I want you to notice that I have already put the hole in the top here for the smokestack, all right? Because I want to show you how to do that, but I also want to show you how to edit your sketches and your drawings in Onshape. We have the features over here to the left side. If you can't see that yours, you need to come down here to this midpoint where these lines are that says features and parts. If you hover over it, click on that. And this is just like the browser panel in Inventor, where it shows your top, right, front, each one of your extrusions and your sketches. And as you move your cursor up and down through there, and you hover on it, it'll show you what each one of those is. When I get to plane 1 and sketch 7, and extrusion 7, that is that feature. If I right click on that, I can delete just the extrusion, and then you can see where I drew where sketch 7 is my hole or circle that I drew for that, my stack hole. I'm going to delete that, right click, scroll down, hit delete, and the next thing that you see here is plane 1. We haven't gone over planes yet. So I'm going to go over that with you now, exactly what a plane is. And in order to sketch in space somewhere, you have to have a flat spot to draw. And we need to use this tool up here in the tool ribbon, which is the plane tool, to create new construction planes by referencing existing planes or geometry. You select the reference geometries and then specify the distances or the angles as needed. And that, you can see I've put a plane on the top of this curve here. And I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to show you how to go about doing that. Right click, delete that. Okay, now that's gone. I'm going to turn this around. Click on the isometric view, and I want that back corner because I want this facing me here. Okay, so I need the plane to put a sketch on. So I'm going to come up here to the tool ribbon, click on plane, and I'm going to choose offset. And I need to set a distance. Okay. If I look at our drawing here, I can see that the top of this arch, or this pipe, or this tubing, where this hole is, has got a radius of 0.75. That means from this center mark, it's 0.75 inches. It doesn't tell me how far it is away from this surface, though. But it tells me that the center is 1.38, and the line is only 0.88. So if I subtract those two, it's 0.5. So if I add that distance, it's 0.5 inches from this flat spot going across here to the center. And I'm going to add 0.75. I'm going to come up with 1.25. All right, so I'm going to take 1.25 inches, and I'm going to offset that plane that far. All right? And in order to do this, I'm going to highlight that, and I'm going to set that to be 1.25 inches. It's an offset. And I need to show where I want to offset it from. And I want to offset it from right here. So I click on that surface, Click OK. Now you can see where it says plane 1. If I look straight on at the train though, you can see this line is tangent with the top of that arc. Okay? Going back here, so now I have a flat spot that I can put a sketch out in space here. All right? So I'm going to click on sketch, and then I'm going to come up to the edges of that plane, and I'm going to click on that. Now that I've done that, you can see over here it says sketch 7. Sketch 7 is lying on plane 1. So I'm going to click on the top, so I'm drawing perpendicular to my view. All right, click OK. And I'm going to, why am I not in sketch mode? Oh, because I clicked Finish Sketch. Right click, edit sketch 7. Come back here. Click on my center point circle. And it says that, before I do that, let's take a look at what it says. What it says is that this circle, this hole in the top, is 0.50 inches diameter. And we've got the T with the arrow on it pointing down that says that this 0.50 diameter hole goes down 0.25 inches. And it says that it is 0.88 inches from the front. And since it has a center line going through it that extends to the front, we know that it's in the center. Okay? So coming back over to here, I'm clicking on my center point circle, creating the circle, coming up and getting my dimension tool, clicking on the circle, and I'm going to define that to be 0.5 inches. Very good. Now I have to define where on this tangent it is, so I come back, click on the center of the circle, come up here, and since this is 2 inches wide, I want that in the center. I'm going to click 1. That'll place it right at the apex of that arc. Now I'm going to click on the center of the circle, and it says we need that to be 0.88 inches set back from the edge. Click that, then I can finish my sketch. Come back and click on a corner of the view cube here to get myself into isometric view. And I'm going to choose to extrude that circle now. And I don't want it to add, I want it to remove. And it was a depth of 0.25 or 1/4 inch. Click on the green check mark, and we can now see that we have our hole for our smokestack. Okay. Plane 1. Edit sketch offset. I want to hide that, so I don't have all of these planes to view. I can also hide these also by clicking on the eyeball. Hide top, hide front, hide right. If I need to use those to draw on, I can always come back over here and show that angle. Okay, but I don't need that right now. So right now, I'm going to put a new sketch on the side of the train. And I'm going to turn the train to be perpendicular to my point of view. That's too big. Scroll out on my wheel. Get it a little bit out of view. Get it recentered here. All right. Now the next thing that we need to do is to put these 2 holes for the axles to go through. And it says that they are 0.5 inches or a ½ inch from the bottom. And it says it's 0.45 to the front from the back, so that would make it 1 inch from the front. And that this back one is 1 inch from the rear. So this one's 1 inch from the front, this one's 1 inch from the rear, and they're both a ½ inch from the bottom. If we look at that designation, that's a 1/4 20 UNC. That means that it's a 1/4 inch hole with 20 threads per inch, and it's a unified national coarse thread. It says through times 2. Notice it's only pointing at one hole. What that means is it goes all the way through the body and that there's 2 of these holes. So we're going to create those 2 now by placing the center point circle here and another one here. And then I'm going to set my dimensions. Both of these need to be 0.25. .25. This one needs to be 1 inch from the rear. This one needs to be 1 inch from the front. And a ½ inch from the bottom. ½ inch from the bottom. I'm going to click OK on this. And then I'm going to extrude both of these holes. Make sure it's a remove. And I can either change this from a blind hole or go through all, which I'm going through all. Then I'm clicking OK. Now, I'm going to have to come back to this tutorial at a future point to show you how to put the threads on it. Because the only way that I know how to put the threads on an internal hole-on shape so far is to use the helix. And that is really not a practical method of doing it. But what you do is click on the helix and then you click on the hole and you have to choose whether it's clockwise or clockwise for right hand thread, clockwise, or left hand thread, which is counterclockwise threads. And then the revolutions. You would have to know how many threads per inch that is. That designation was 1/4 20, so it's 20 threads per inch. Since this is going through 2 inches, that is going to be 40 revolutions, and then the angle for the thread to start. And that, I do not recall what the thread angle is for a 1/4 20, but I'm going to set it just to show you to be 45 degrees. And then click OK. And then I still haven't found orbit on here. If any of you guys can find orbit as to how we make it rotate a little tiny bit at a time, I usually just click and hold, but what I'm getting is this moving around. But if I click to move this around, you can see the threads on that hole. Okay? I'm going to go back to isometric view. And of course I would do the same thing with the helix on the front one to be 40 clockwise, 45. Click OK. And that's how I would thread those holes using the helix tool. But there's got to be a thread tool on here somewhere. I just haven't found it yet. Okay, so I'm going to turn this now because the next thing that we need to put on here is these 3 holes on the front for the cow catcher. And it says that these are 0.125 in diameter and 0.125 deep. Okay, that's 1/8 of an inch. And that there are 3 of them, and these are the dimensions for there. 0.625 from the bottom for the top one, and see this angled 1.125 shows the center line for those. So in order to do that, I'm going to put a sketch on this front plane, and I'm going to turn it so it's perpendicular to my view. And I'm going to hold down on my mouse wheel and pan that up just a tad bit so that I'm working in the center of my screen. Now again, I'm going to make 3 holes or circles that I'm going to turn into holes. Okay. And then I have to set my dimensions. To be 0.125. 0.125, 0.125, and I need this to be in the center here, so I need that to be 1 inch, and okay, I need this to be 3/8 of an inch from here. I wonder if I can type fractions in on Onshape. 3/8. Sure can. It automatically converts it to the decimal factor. 0.375. Either way, it's nice to know. Especially when they start giving you obscure fractions, like 29/64 or something like that. It's just easier to type the fraction. Okay, and that needs to be 1/8 of an inch from the bottom, which is 0.125. And then this needs to be 1/8 of an inch from the bottom, which is 0.125. And it is telling me that this is 5/8 or 0.625 from the bottom. 0.625 inches. All right, doing that, I'm going to click Finish this sketch. I'm going to turn it to an isometric view. And I'm going to do a subtractive modeling there and remove all 3 of these holes from base of sketch 9, 9, and 9. All right, and I need the depth to be 0.125 as well. Click the green check mark, and we are, oh no, we're not. The only thing we are not finished with on this is the fillet. It says note, all edges have a radius of 0.1 except for the drilled holes. So we have to come up to the tool ribbon and find the fillet tool and set that to be 0.1. And come along and click on each one of these edges to round these off. Making it look much nicer modeled by far. The fact that this Onshape works in a browser, which is the same thing as basically a cloud, sometimes you get this little spinning wheel here and the latency is kind of slow. But if you don't have a laptop that'll run the software, this has proved to be pretty good software all in all. I'm pretty happy with it, I have to say. Okay, I'm not going to do around the bottom. I like that sharp edge looking better. Click OK. And voila, or voila, we have is our finished train body. All right. Workspace, oh yes. No saving, just close the document. Okay. And it does not showing me that it saved the rounded edges. Let me try and click on that. Yes, it did. It saved them. Go back, close the document, and that is it for today, guys. This is the rest of your assignment for the week. All right? Any questions? Contact me. Let me know how I can help. All right? You're going to have to do the conclusion questions posted along with this from the Haiku page on both days. And that's it for the week.